If we're not going to learn about history and what history really was, what's the point in learning about it at all? If it's not true, then it's not history, it's propaganda. Hello everyone, welcome back. You've seen the title. This one might be a bit spicy for some, but we seem to be living in a world now where everything's becoming black or white, and we can't see the positives. There's an old paradox called Theseus' ship. My friends know of this because I've asked them about it, but in case you're not aware of it, the basic gist of it is there's a man called Theseus and he owns a ship. And he goes into battle and he comes back, and every time he comes back he needs to replace a part of the ship. So he replaced a piece of the sail, he stitches a little square hole in it, like fixes a hole, or he'll replace the rudder or other pieces of wood. At what point is that ship no longer Theseus' ship? So some people say the moment you take one part off and replace it, it's no longer the original ship. Some people say, myself included, as soon as it goes over 51%, so as soon as there's a pile of parts that constitutes more of the ship than the actual ship itself, that pile of parts is the original ship. And then other people say as long as 1% of the original ship remains. So it's all down to how people perceive it. But at the end of the day, the moment you replace one piece, it's not wholly the original ship anymore. And the reason it ties into this is, yes, Hitler was one of the worst human beings that ever lived. He actually was. Like, he didn't want to win the war. He wanted to exterminate people. If he wanted to win the war, he could have. He had all the opportunities in the world to win that war, and he sabotaged himself. And when he was losing the war, he sped up the extermination instead of slowing it down. So, does he want to win the war? Does he want to exterminate people? He realises his time's running out and he can only achieve one of them. So he exterminates people. So he's clearly one of the worst humans that ever lived. But that doesn't negate the fact that he did good things. And obviously Kanye West has said this.
You're not Hitler. You're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well, I see good things about Hitler also. The Jew, I love everyone. I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
And I don't understand how you can say that you see a lot of good in Hitler. I can understand the vague point he's trying to make. Hitler did a few good things, a handful, right? That does not negate all of the evil that he did, but it also highlights a point. The point is, Hitler wasn't wholly bad. Nobody is completely evil. He still did some good things. Now, do those good things outweigh the atrocities? No. This is in no way, shape or form an apology for Hitler or the Nazi Party. But to say that they were completely evil is simply factually wrong. And if we're not going to learn about history and what history really was, what's the point in learning about it at all? If it's not true, then it's not history, it's propaganda. So we need to understand. So I've pulled up a list of the 10 things that the Nazis actually got right, that we sort of should be thankful for, but it's not exactly a great place that it came from. Do you know what I mean? So the banning of vivisection, which we won't even go into that because of YouTube, right? But animal conservation, like he didn't want people killing animals. He wanted deers, and wolves were introduced to Bavaria and all that. Like they were trying to fix nature, but they were trying to kill the Jews at the same time. So they were still, do you know what I mean? They were still fucking evil people, but they tried to preserve nature. They banned tobacco before there was any scientific proof for it. So, like, we didn't really have evidence that tobacco was bad until, like, the 50s, 60s. But the Nazis banned it. Like, they had a hunch. So they got it right, completely by accident, but they got it right. Like, we can't deny that they got it right. The next thing would be welfare programs. Now, this one is a bit dubious to me. Now, most people say, oh yes, he set up welfare programs and like all of the youth programs and stuff, but I always question the motivation. He didn't really do that to help society. He did that to breed the next generation of soldiers. So it's not like you're comparing the Hitler Youth to the Brown Owls. Like, it's a completely different thing. So I'm not sure if I would class that as a good thing, because he might have done a good thing, but he might have done a good thing because the thing that he started evolved into a good thing. But when it started, Genesis, it was him manipulating children and propagandizing children to join the army to fight for the Third Reich. So I'm not sure about that one. The Volkswagen, which translates to people's car, like Hitler pioneered the fact that everybody should have a car and be autonomous and be able to move around and stuff. The Autobahn, which we would call highways or motorways. the father of modern rocketry, which was Werner von Braun, who went over to NASA through Operation Paperclip, just after the war. He didn't get any punishment. Like, that man worked Jews to death. He used to hang Jewish workers up for the other Jews to see, so they would work faster. That's how fucked up that was. And then that man went on to put men on the moon for America. That's how fucked up history is. They used a Nazi. And the Nazi built rockets using slaves, and then the Americans took those blueprints, used those blueprints to make better rockets. So the Saturn V started with slave labour. That's how it happened. Innovation in film. This is what Kanye was saying about like the microphones and stuff I use. I can understand what he was trying to say. I can get the point he was trying to make. The point he was trying to make is that we live in this world where everybody's black and white. It's a dichotomy. You're either evil or good. There's no mid ground. Like, and that's not how it works. Like, for all that Hitler was 99.9999999% evil, Kanye does have a tiny little point in there. And amongst all that bullshit that he said, there's a tiny little nugget of gold that's actually true. And the microphone that he's using and stuff, yeah, like the Nazis were highly advanced technologically. Look at, if you haven't seen The Imitation Game, Benedict Cumberbatch plays Alan Turing really well. And it's about the Enigma machine and how they had to break the code, and then they had to choose which codes they were going to actually let the Nazis know they worked onto, like twigged onto. Because if the British intelligence agency let the Nazis know that we had all of their codes, they would change their code system. So we had to play it like conservatively, and right, we can only do like, so then people will have to die, because if we save those people and those people, the Nazis will know we've got their secret codes. So we'll have to choose who we save, so the Nazis think that we're just getting lucky and we don't actually know what's happening to them. They were very technologically advanced. Contributions to fashion, yeah, let's not even get into the Hugo Boss and Aiden Dassler and all of the, let's not. And then medical advances, but obviously the medical advances came on the back of grotesque, foul experiments, including like children and stuff. Like, we won't get into that. But the point of this video, like I said, it's not an apology for the Nazis. I have a scale that I use to describe to people, like, how evil do you think somebody is? And for me, I want you guys to comment in the comment section, who do you think the most evil person that's ever existed is, right? In the comment section, right? So I can look them up to see if it modifies my scale. So my scale, as it stands, is a little Girl Scout, a little 7-year-old Girl Scout selling cookies, right? She's like the picture of innocence, right? The only crime that she has done is broke her parents' heart when she scuffed a knee, right? That's her. And then at the other end of the scale, you've got a man called Joseph Mengele. And I'll let you look him up. But he's, as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the most evil human beings that's ever existed, beyond Hitler, right? He was that guy. Whoa, just look it up, right? So if you can think of someone more evil than him, so I can modify my scale. But on that scale of human beings, from like pieces of shit to innocent children, Hitler's still well up there, but he wasn't totally evil. He still had some good sides. Like, I'll ask you this question: do you think Hitler loved his mother? And if the answer is yes, that means there was some humanity in there. But he was a complete piece of shit. He's one of the worst human beings that ever existed. He was one of the worst human beings that ever existed. But to say that he was wholeheartedly evil is misguided and incorrect. It just is. Peace.